Good morning from Florianopolis, Brazil. It's supposed to be winter, and this morning it's 20 degrees. Beautiful, no
20
clouds.
degrees Celsius, which means it's fucking warm.
Yeah,
for all you Americans who don't know Celsius.
Warm, it's warm. Beautiful sunrise, beautiful waves. Except they're a bit savage also. And they roughed my friend Michael up here. His shoulder is in bad shape. He's sitting through it. Today's topic is a hot topic. I was on the board with Sophie Josefina, who I've been talking with recently. She did an interview with me and I did an interview with her. And I think she does excellent work, really trying to understand men and women, honoring both sides. And great work. And on one of the boards she wrote, "Where have all the good men gone?" And I titled this, "Where have all the great men gone?" Because that's probably part of the problem, is the great men are gone because we're trained, this is one of the explanations, we're trained to be good boys, we're trained to be good men, we're not trained anymore to be great men. So as soon as we're born, our moms, our teachers, mostly female, and the whole society has a culture where we train men to be good boys, to do the right thing, to tolerate, to compromise, to appease, to not rock the boat, to be good men. And you see it, from birth all the way through death. You know, when we come out of the womb, we have this inner authority that tells us what to do and screams and yells and wants it a certain way, and mama teaches us to be good, you know?
Well, I would say that, I don't know. I mean, I think that's kind of a mother's job, you know?
Yes.
Train us to be civilized, train us to be good, train us to be polite, these sorts of things. I don't really see that as the main issue, but that most of us are lacking great men as elders.
That's exactly true.
Fathers, great men in our lives, who we really respect and admire and want to make the same kind of sacrifices that they make and take on a lot of responsibility. And I think partly like what we see happen with the police in America, you know, so many people are shaming the police right now, and I'm definitely one of the ones who thinks a lot of changes need to be made with how we do our policing and the culture with that. But when we take away the honor for these roles of sacrifice, you know, police put themselves in harm's way every day, and when we take away the honor for the roles that we would, you know, what is a great man? I think a great man is someone who lifts a heavy load, you know, takes on a great mission or takes on great responsibility for his people. You know, he takes on risk, takes on danger, and, you know, stands for something. And but if there's no honor in that, if there's only, you know, then what is the incentive? Mm-hmm. You know, because men will risk their lives, they'll even kill for honor. Mm-hmm. But you take away the honor, and there's nothing but like, okay, we'll shame you less if you just do what we think is mm-hmm. being a good man. You know, if you have a boy being raised by a single mother who's angry at men and the masculine and the patriarchy and everything like this, and he has no strong men in his life, he has, you know, he only has that mothering influence that's angry at the masculine, then he's just trying to become his mother's idea of a good man. There's nothing internal, because his instincts channel him towards his masculinity. Yes. But that's judged by the mother, and he no longer has any sense of where I should go. Mm-hmm. He can't look to a father figure because he doesn't have one, and he judges them, and he's trying to go to this like unnatural place of what his mother says is a good man, and she becomes his authority, and he's just trying to be that version of good, which can never be great. It's I think women's complaint a lot of times is that the men are not leading, that they're just they're complacent, they're followers, they're going along, and it's not inspiring. They're not men that inspire the women respect and that they would like to follow.
And it's true.
Yeah, and
I mean, like I was going to get to that point. Like we're raised by women, and that's not the problem. Is not that women raises. The problem is like the absence of the masculine. So I was going to get to that point, and at a whole, I also want to make sure I don't blame. We don't blame anyone. There's no women to blame. There's no man to blame. But trying to like unpack the situation that we're in, where yes, there's an absence of the masculine. There's an absence of like honoring the masculine. There's and for men it's really hard to be raised in it, to be in that culture, to become great men. You really have to be a man. You have to be a rebel. You have to be a rebel almost to go against that, because everything in our culture dishonors the masculine or the is absence of the masculine.
And we have so much you could say privilege, like so many great advantages of not having to fight for our very survival, not having to fight off the neighboring tribe that's going to come for our women or whatever. And so we don't need men in the same way that we once did.
Exactly.
We don't need them as much as the warriors, protectors. We kind of delegate that out. We farm that out to the police or the military or whatever, something that's kind of outside of us. And then men are left without these normal masculine roles. And, with women now very much in the workplace and us living lives that very much often require two parents to work, the women oftentimes are making more than the men. And they, like men are not even wanting to go out and make a bunch of money, So oftentimes the women are making more money than the men. And a lot of them have an attitude like they don't need men, which in a way it's true, because they can provide, and the protection can be handled by the police and the security team guarding the apartment complex or whatever, and so on. And so in a way they don't need men.
Yes. So if we describe it, and I like to do that more than blaming anyone, if we describe it that where have all the great men gone? Well, they're not there because we have a culture that cultivates becoming a good man, a good boy who appeases, who tolerates, who compromises. And we don't have a culture anymore that educates us to be great men. And it's a tragedy, but what I see also is it's one of the greatest opportunities for men right now to become men. If we as men could see that culture that we're raised in, and if we could stand up against it, if we can rebel against it, if we can lead and carve a different path, because that's the opportunity that us men today do get. It's easy to say, the culture, and it's a good way of seeing it. There's a culture that doesn't stimulate greatness in men, but there's also the opportunity more than ever to become great men, to become a great man of your own choosing, to choose your own battle, to choose your own adventure, to choose your own enemy, to become a man by your own choosing, and really carve that path for yourself. So I think there's a tragedy of the culture that doesn't cultivate greatness in men, but you have the opportunity more than ever to become a great man as well, because every man by himself can make an incredible change. He can make his couple, family, tribe, community, he could lead that into glory. He could create a complete different paradigm and world where he lives in, where where he could be a great man. And
Yes.
that's an incredible opportunity that us men have nowadays.
I see you kind of framing it more in the terms of the individual, you know, and what the individual man can do. And that's very much like where I've been most of my life, is in that paradigm. And now I'm starting to see like more like it's less about this training that we get. And I think it's more that we don't have these great men in our lives, you know, because like I had a few,
Right,
you know,
right.
and it made a huge difference.
And I agree with that 100%.
Yes, and I think also like for us, you know, as like what can we do? I would invite us more into like the community response of like coming together with other great men. You know, it's like there's the what we can do. It's there's a lot that we can do individually and heroically, and I just think about a lot of those guys who are. I mean, in a way, it's such a lonely call in a sad situation. Like you think of most guys, they're without brothers. They got all these YouTube videos of self-improvement and these things that they can do, but I think there's this deep sadness and longing, you know, for real brotherhood, and I think oftentimes it's not named, and oftentimes that we tell that guy, well, you know, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, or go see a psychologist, or read a self-help book, or go to a course, and I just in this moment I'm feeling some sadness for that, you know, and I'm in this very moment I'm feeling like just a desire for the older men to come back for the younger men, you know, and to come and
but that could be your very call to greatness, to be that guy for someone else. Because I completely agree that, like, we could say there's a culture that doesn't honor masculinity, but you could also say there's the absence of masculinity. You know, that's the same thing. Like, the women raising us is not the issue. It's that there's not the counterpoint of the masculinity. Okay? So you see that, and then you could say, as a man, you got the opportunity to be great, and how could you be great? Well, be great for your people, which is for your couple, but also means for your brothers, you know? Go back for your brother. Be that older brother for another guy. You know? And that's a great call for greatness for men. And that's a chance that we have.
Yes. Yeah, you know, I'm thinking of this young man. He's about 30 years old, who I started working with him with the honor work. And he comes to me, and what he really wants for himself, he's working with this older relative male who's a very masculine guy in a lot of ways. He once really admired him. He wanted to be like him. But then he didn't know how to, I don't know, just be with that guy in a way that earned his respect and whatever. So his own growth into being that man he wanted to be was stunted. And what he came to me wanting for himself was like, he wants the respect. He wants to be able to be around this guy and other guys like him in a way where he just has his self-respect, which is awesome, and that's what he's going for. But I think the more that he does the honor work, the more he's seeing like his opportunity even to go back for that guy. This guy's even an elder, you know, well, older than him, you know, and I think he's feeling even more the call to brotherhood, I think that's a great call to the I don't even want to say the older guys, but guys even who are in their 20s or 30s, but they're maybe thinking more in terms of like, okay, I want to become a great man myself, and so let me go do these things myself and for myself. But the biggest opportunity that could even develop himself might be to do it for others. You know, like younger brothers. And I mean, that's where that's my story. You know, I feel really called to that.
Well, go back for your father.
Yeah. Go back for those older men that you know, you might judge that they weren't the man that you wanted. They weren't the father that you needed. And go back for them.
Many ways to be great. So, where have the great men gone? They're in our alliance. They're our brothers, and that's what we're doing. Bringing these men with great intentions, great aspirations, great ambition, great care, you know,
you said
together.
You're asking where have the great men gone, and to kind of tap into what Jordan Peterson talks about. They're buried in the underworld, you know, and we've got to go back and rescue them. And this is the way I see this is they're buried underneath our judgments, you know, our fathers or whatever, these men who we don't want to be like, these men who are, you know, maybe like the police, they were too aggressive, maybe they were too egotistical or arrogant, they were too forceful, they were too, you know, all of these things. Our access to becoming the great men that we want to be and that society needs and that our women need lay buried underneath our judgments.
I think that's a great, I see the image now. The great men lay buried underneath all of our judgments, you know. And the great thing is you could resurrect them instantly by honoring them. So you're doing great work by honoring men, you know, because they're not just maybe dead, but they're buried alive, I would say.
Yeah.
They're buried alive and they're waiting to be honored, you know, because not knowing what's missing, not knowing. But as soon as a man feels honored, I told her that, you know, as soon as a man feels honored by a great woman, he's like, fuck this, you know, I'm ready to kill and die. I'll slay dragons for my people. I don't care if I die, you know, I got my honor, you know.
Yes.
This beautiful woman is honoring me. Fucking A, I'm killing everything in my... That's how it feels.
Yes.
I was honored by a beautiful woman. I'm like, I'm unstoppable, invincible, you know. So I love that. That's a great image. Where are the great men? They lay buried alive underneath our judgments.
Yes.
You know, you bring them alive by honoring them. You start honoring them, you'll see them coming. You know?
Yes,
they're everywhere.
And there's ways to do that. You know, like some people can be thinking, well, of honoring means this or that or the other thing, and it may not be effective with the way that they're thinking about it. You know, so I just want to say that there's ways of being effective with that, but
I'll elaborate on it. It's this.
But I also want to add in there before you go into that is I just want to plant the seed that also our ancestors, they lay buried and they're dead in a way. But for many enduring, lasting cultures, their ancestors are alive. Their ancestors live in their daily rituals and memories and their presencing. And we're so individualistic. Like most of us, we don't think about our ancestors. We don't know our ancestors. We don't know where we come from. We're cut off and we're just this individual trying to get more success or more Facebook followers or more stuff for ourselves, and we're not living in this great story and tradition and aliveness of our ancestors. So our ancestors also lay buried, you know, underneath our we've forgotten them, and honoring is very much about remembering, bringing together into the whole, into the family. So I just wanted to say that.
Clan Comyn. Anyway, I discovered my heritage. But yes, I was talking with Sophie about this very thing because she has the concept also of honoring, you know, and I think anyone who could benefit from this very practical, you know, logical human technologies like the honor window that takes someone from through a whole process and shows what our judgments really are, and then shows underneath the judgment the desires, you know. And comes to a place, starting with judgment, seeing them, acknowledging them, comes to a place, a logical step-by-step formula, and you come to in a place where you can honor that same person that you're judging. And so it's not just, I mean, we have very little education in it, honor, and you develop this over decades, you know. And I'm just speaking the power of it because I felt it, I've seen it firsthand, you know. And it's a logical formula that takes you from judging someone to honoring someone, and it's so powerful.
It takes us into our hearts, and
remembering with our hearts.
Yes, judgment, as I see it, is a closing off of our hearts.
Yes,
right. It's like you were in my heart. You're no longer a part of me.
Sophie is watching. Hey, Sophie.
Hey, Sophie. You're no longer a part of me. You're no longer a part of my heart. You're no longer welcome in my heart. And that's what it feels like when someone's judging you, right? It's like, and I wonder what really is going on physically in our hearts, you know? Like, I wish I had the biological whatever to understand it. But as we open our hearts back up and remember our people and take them back into our heart, there's a release. There's a beautiful opening. People come to tears and you feel the warmth, you feel your heart expand, and your wisdom also expands. Imagine now you're moving in the world with all of your people and your ancestors and your children and your fathers. They're all in your heart, and you're moving in the world making choices based on all of them.
It's incredible.
Just on your one self.
Like I've come to a place of honoring people that I judged so severely, you know, and and I realized how much I was the prisoner of my own judgment, you know, how that was really limited, how that puts a burden on me being in prison, you know, and that honor really like could shatter that. If you could go through the process, if you could come the other way, you know, you see the judgments for what they are, and then you develop the desire that's underneath there, you know, what you really want, and then you come to a place of honor, you see that person in a different light. And now you walk, like you say, you walk with him in the world in a complete different way, you know. And it's such a release, like a burden falls away. And it's so powerful. It's not just, oh, I'm relieved of something. You feel at the same time, I'm the one. I fucking did it, you know. Yes. It's like a burden is you undo, and then you take everyone with you, and it's not a problem. You carrying them like Atlas. It's easy. You know, you take everyone with you, and it's such a powerful thing.
We've talked before on this podcast about becoming the warrior and becoming the chief, you know, and I think a lot of men today, they don't make the evolution into either one of those, you know, and but especially the chief, you know. I mean, I would really say both. But especially the chief, which is where you're coming from a place of leading with all of your people in your heart. And yes, so there's an invitation for people who want to go deeper and learn more about this to engage with the honor work.
I'll summarize it. Where have all the great men gone? Great phrase today. They lay buried alive underneath our judgments. As soon as you start honoring man, the masculine, that man, they'll come out of the woodwork, they'll come out of the ground, you know, and say, thank you, here I am.
I think of that scene from Lord of the Rings, where...
You haven't seen Lord of the Rings?
All right. But... I'm judging you. You're out of my heart. You are not my people.
Kill Bill.
I can't believe all these movies, great movies you haven't seen. And you have your own list I haven't seen, but...
Big Lebowski.
But anyway, there's man, and I can't remember the exact thing to describe it, but something happens, like the positive version of civilization is about to be ultimately doomed by the forces of darkness. Like they're really they're about ready. The forces of darkness are about to destroy the last remnants of good people alive in the universe or on the planet, you know. And then something happens, and all these great warriors rise up from the graves, you know. And these great men, these great warriors come back, and they vanquish the forces of darkness, and it's great. So I'm imagining that's the scene I'm seeing, you know, these great men rising up from the grave.
We're ready. And like I wanted to add to it, like where have the great men gone? They lay buried alive underneath our judgments. How do we bring them alive? By honoring the masculine, honoring your that man. And by that I don't mean women do it. I mean you as a man do it. Your great father lays buried alive underneath your judgment. Your grandfather, your ancestor, your brother, he lays buried underneath, and you can bring him alive.
Yes.
You know, you can bring him alive by starting to honor him. Yes. Honor your father, go back for a brother, honor your ancestors, you know, honor yourself.
And be the man that the women in your life desire to follow.
Yes. Man.
And it's great, and I would even say essential for the women to do the work as well.
Yes.
And for men to do the work of honoring the feminine and the women.
And you're not going to say it, but I'll say it. You know, it's not just honoring. I'll just start honoring. No, there's a process there. There's a step-by-step formula, and I'll speak it till the end of time because it has helped me tremendously. And you can go through it. So reach out if you want to do the honor work, the honor window, and it will change your life. You will make magic and miracles happen. All right.
Make men great again.